Chapter 5. Tyranny in Geneva. Perhaps Calvin thought he was God's instrument to force irresistible grace, a key doctrine in Calvinism, upon the citizens of Geneva, Switzerland. Okay. Even upon those who proved their unworthiness by resisting to the death. He unquestionably did his best to be irresistible in imposing, in quote, righteousness, end of quote, but what he imposed and the manner in which he imposed it was far more grace in the teachings and example of Christ. Many of those who profess a quote reformed end of quote faith today, especially those known as Reconstructionists, such as the late Rousas J. Rushdoni, Gary North, J. Grimstead, and others, including organizations such as the Coalition on Revival, take Calvin's Geneva as their motto and thus hope to Christianize the United States and then the world. Many Christian activists of looser attachment to Calvin hope in their own way through protest marches and the organizing of large enough voting blocks to force an ungodly American citizenry into godly living. The citizenry, the group of people who live in a particular city, town, area, or country. The group of people who live in a particular country or place. Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's it, really. Yep, okay. Okay. Ungodly American citizenry into godly living. No one ever worked so hard at attempting to do this and for so long a time as Calvin. Durant reports. To regulate lay conduct, a system of domiciliary visits was established, and questioned the occupants on all phases of their lives, The allowable color and quantity of clothing and and the quantity of clothing and the number of dishes permissible at a meal, were specified by law. Let me read everything again. To regulate lay conduct a system of domiciliary visits was established, and questioned the occupants on all phases of their lives, The allowable color and quantity of clothing and the number of dishes permissible at a meal were specified by law. Jewelry and lace were frowned upon. A woman was jailed for arranging her hair to an immoral height, Censorship of the press was taken over from Catholic and secular precedents and enlarged. Books, of immoral tendency were banned, To speak disrespectfully of Calvin or the clergy was a crime. A first violation of these ordinances was punished with a reprimand, further violation with fines, persistent violation with imprisonment or banishment. Fornication was to be punished with exile or drowning, adultery, blasphemy, or idolatry with death, A child was beheaded for striking its parents. In the years 1558 and 59, there were 414 persecutions for moral offenses. Between 1542 and 1564, there were 76 banishments, and 58 executions. The total population of Geneva was then about 20,000. Domiciliary, relating to the home, especially to care that takes place in someone's home because they are sick or old. And then the rest are examples. And then that's it. Okay. And the reason why I had to look up this word because of this sentence. Durant reports, quote, to regulate lay conduct a system of domiciliary visits was established, and questioned the occupants on all phases of their lives, The allowable color and quantity of clothing and the number of dishes permissible at a meal were specified by law. Jewelry and lace were frowned upon. A woman was jailed for arranging her hair to an immoral height, Okay. So I found the quote to this one. So the writer, let me go to it. Bring this down. Bring a new one. So the writer's name is, I thought I had him. His name is William Durant. Now I will use Wikipedia. That is not a reputable source, but it's what I have because I don't have access to reputable sources like libraries and stuff. But his name was William James Durant. Okay, so let me pull out. Oh yes, and then let me explain more. Okay, so his name was William James Durant, and he wrote these books. Let me see if it's still in here. It's called this. What is it? So the story of civilization. Now he has a number of volumes. Forgive me, a number of volumes. The story of civilization, and one of them is Reformation. So thank God for the internet. Somebody from friendsofsabbath.org uploaded the whole book online, and it has the same quotes as as what the book has. So I'm gonna read the whole thing because I want to read the whole thing. So let's get to it. Okay, now we're going to the quote. Okay. So it's right here, and it's just as the citation was. 474 was where it was cited on page 73 of the book. Number 18, it's Durant OPCIT dot comma 474, and it's 474. So it matches and is correct, which is really great, and I really want to read it. So we're gonna start from the consistory. The consistory made little distinction between religion and morality. Conduct was to be guided as carefully as belief, for good conduct was the goal of right belief. Forgive me. Calvin himself, austere and severe, dreamed of a community so well regulated that its virtue would prove his theology and would shame the Catholicism that had produced or tolerated the luxury and laxity of Rome. Discipline should be the backbone of personality, enabling it to rise out of the baseness of human nature to the erect stature of the self-conquered man. The clergy must lead by example as well as precepts. They may marry and beget, but they must abstain from hunting, gambling, feasting, commerce, and secular amusements, and accept annual visitation and moral scrutiny by their ecclesiastical superiors. Period. All right, to the quote. To regulate lay conduct, a system of domiciliary visits was established. One or another of the elders visited yearly each house in the quarter assigned to him and questioned the occupants on all phases of their lives. Consistory and council joined in the prohibition of gambling, card playing, profanity, drunkenness, the frequenting of taverns, dancing (parentheses), which was then enhanced by kisses and embraces (end of parentheses), indecent or irreligious songs, excess in entertainment, extravagance in living, immodesty in dress, the allowable color and quantity of clothing, yes, and the number of dishes permissible at a meal were specified by law. Jewelry and lace were frowned upon. A woman was jailed for arranging her hair to an immoral height. Theatrical performances were limited to religious plays, and then these too were forbidden. Children were to be named not after saints in the Catholic calendar, but preferably after Old Testament characters. An obstinate father served 4 days in prison for insisting on naming his son Claude instead of Abraham. Censorship of the press was taken over from Catholic and secular presidents and enlarged parentheses 1560. Interesting. The quote here in the book did not include 1560, but he forgot to include it. Okay. And in large parentheses 1560 in the parentheses, books of erroneous religious doctrine or of immoral tendency were banned. Either he's misquoting it or this book has errors. But yeah, okay. Interesting. Keep reading. Where was I? Okay, so yes, or of immoral tendencies were banned. And then after they were banned, and the book is ... But here is Montaigne's essays and Rousseau's Emile were later to fall under the proscription. I don't know what that means. Can I even look it up? I cannot. This proscription. To speak disrespectfully of Calvin or the clergy was a crime. Now I don't know how citation is, but he did not include the citation that they cited as well. But maybe you don't have to, so that part I don't remember. A first violation of these ordinances were punished with a reprimand, further violation with fines, persistent violation with imprisonment or banishment. Fornication was to be punished with exile or drowning. Where is it? Fornication was to be punished with exile or drowning. Adultery, blasphemy, or idolatry with death. And then it goes ... And then here we're going to keep reading. In one extraordinary instance, a child was beheaded for striking its parents. In the years 1558-59, there were 414 prosecutions for moral offenses. Between 1542 and 1564, there were 76 banishments and 58 executions. The total population of Geneva was then about 20,000. As everywhere in the 16th century, torture was often used to obtain confessions or evidence. And that is all for now. But that's a little concerning that he did not include the parentheses of 1560. Now, was that in the parentheses? Was that either way? He's quoting someone else's, so it should be included. I'm not sure why, but I still will read the book. We're humans, so but and we'll leave it there. Let's go back. But despite the errors in quotations, I still want to thank the Lord for this book because it has it's helped me to grow in my history of Christianity and in more understanding of Catholicism. I did send an email to the publishers to let them know that there's an error in the quotations. But nothing is perfect, not even books. So, and none of these videos are perfect either. So, I hope everything I said is biblical and is from the Bible. And I hope I'm being an ambassador of Christ as I make these videos. But let's keep going and let's hope to finish at least one section. All right. Certainly, much of Calvin's unusual zeal could not have come from the Holy Spirit's guidance, but rather from his powerful personality and extreme view of God's sovereignty that denied all power of choice to men. Now, this is my opinion, but I believe some things from John Calvin were guidance from the Holy Spirit. But there could be possibility that some of his actions could have been his own interest. All right, let's keep going. From the Holy Spirit's guidance, but rather from his powerful personality and extreme view of God's sovereignty that denied all power of choice to men. Thus, quote, grace, end of quote, had to be irresistibly imposed. This was evident in the unbiblical manner in which he attempted to inflict his understanding of godliness upon the citizens of Geneva. In contrast to the humility, mercy, love, compassion, and long-suffering of Christ, whom he loved and tried to serve, Calvin exerted authority much like the papacy, which he now despised. Ironically, in spite of opposing the tyranny of the papacy, Calvin wielded the same unbiblical authoritarianism in attempting to enforce godliness upon ungodly people. Moreover, he criticized over Protestant leaders for not doing the same. Seeing that the defenders of the papacy are so bitter and bold in behalf of their superstition, that in their atrocious fury they shed the blood of the innocent, it should shame Christian magistrates that in the protection of certain truth they are entirely destitute of spirit. Period. Calvin's defenders turn a blind eye to the facts when they attempt to exonerate him by blaming events in Geneva on the civil authorities. In the face of so much evidence to the contrary, Botner even insists that, quote, Calvin was the first of the reformers to demand complete separation between church and state, end of quote. In fact, Calvin not only established ecclesiastical laws, but he codified the civil legislation, period. He held the civil authorities responsible to, quote, foster and maintain the external worship of God, to defend sound doctrine and the condition of the church, quote, end of quote, and to see that, quote, no idolatry, no blasphemy against God's name, no calumnies against his truth, nor other offenses to religion break out and be disseminated among the people, in brackets the word but, to prevent the true religion, from being with impunity openly violated and polluted by public blasphemy, end of quote. Let's look up these big words. Calumny. The act of making a statement about someone that is not true and is intended to damage the reputation of that person. Let's keep going down. And then examples. Yep, so let's go back up. Calumny. The act of making a statement about someone that is not true and is intended to damage the reputation of that person. And to see that no, quote, no idolatry, no blasphemy against God's name, no calumnies against his truth, nor other offenses to religion break out and be decimating among the people. Let's look up that word as well.
Disseminate.
Disseminate or disseminating. Disseminated. Disseminate. Disseminated.
Disseminate.
Disseminated. Disseminate. Disseminated. To spread or give out something, especially news, information, ideas, etc., to a lot of people. To spread or give out news, information, ideas, etc., to many people. To spread or give out news, information, ideas, etc., to a lot of people. The intrinsic value of quality information is enhanced by wider dissemination. The group, which was established for the dissemination of new economic ideas, was disbanded by the central government last year. And then examples. Again, disseminate, to spread or give out something, especially news, information, ideas, etc., to a lot of people. So let's read this sentence again. Calumnies against his truth, nor other offenses to religion break out and be disseminated among the people. In brackets, but to prevent the true religion from being with impunity openly violated and polluted by public blasphemy. End of quote. And let's look up the word impunity, and that should be the last one. Impunity, freedom from punishment or from the unpleasant results of something that has been done. Impunity, freedom from punishment for something that has been done that is wrong or illegal. And then its examples. Okay, going back up, impunity. Okay. All right. Calvin used the civil arm to impose his peculiar doctrines upon the citizens of Geneva and to enforce them. Zweig, who pored over the official records of the city council for Calvin's day, tells us, quote, "There is hardly a day in the records of the settings of the town council in which we do not find the remark, quote, it's not in, well, let me read it again, quote, there is hardly a day in the records of the settings of the town council in which we do not find the remark, better consult Master Calvin about this, end of quote." Wow. Pike reminds us that Calvin was given a, quote, consultant chair, end of quote, in every meeting of the city authorities, and, quote, when he was sick, the authorities would come to his house for their sessions, end of quote. Rather than diminishing with time, Calvin's power only grew. John McNeill, a Calvinist, admits that, quote, in Calvin's latter years and under his influence, the laws of Geneva became more detailed and more stringent. End of, oh, and let me read this again. John McNeill, a Calvinist, admits that, quote, in Calvin's latter years and under his influence, the laws of Geneva became more detailed and more stringent. End of quote. Thank you and good night.